remember. And we'll let everybody in. Yeah. Hello. Good evening. Okay, we have a couple of other people in too, but some people, their cameras aren't on yet, which is totally fine. Like, get yourself settled, get ready to be on camera when you're ready. Hi. I might be a little glitchy, but if I fall off, Tami has my glitchy back. I'm in the Finger Lakes area of New York, upstate New York. Um, Traveled here today with my partner, and so the Wi-Fi is like I'm glamping. I'm in a glamping place. Isn't this cute? It's like a little A-frame little glamping thing. It's the closest I can get my partner to go camping with me. So
I
I
love
love
it.
to go back country camping, like, you know, totally like starting my fires with flint and stuff. And he's just like, yeah, I need a bed. Oh, welcome to tonight, our final meeting. Oh,
Bittersweet.
yeah. Well, maybe not our final. How about this is like
Yeah,
farewell for now, but not forever tonight. Yeah.
I like that.
So I would love to check in with everybody and talk a little bit about boundaries as we start tonight, and then we're going to move into there's a lot of things in your workbook, and I'm gonna explain and describe like a few of them, but there's way too much information in that list of like relational skills that we're gonna be able to cover tonight. But I'll give you a taste of like some of them, and or maybe the most important ones, or explain what do some of the terms mean in that list. And then we're gonna move into ending our time together talking about play, and Tammy's going to lead us in a discussion about how to let our little girl out and play, because that's a big piece of our inner child. Like, we're just way too serious in life, and so how do we incorporate play? So I've been very, very, very challenged this week with my boundaries with my two adult children who are in a battle with each other, and I love them both dearly, and they want to spit on each other. And so I have been really like riding this line of how much do I get involved? How much do I let them like figure this out on their own? And where are my boundaries around how I want to be talked to? Like when my daughter gets on a phone call with me and starts really kind of going in lots of different rabbit hole directions with me, I've been like, I think I'm gonna have to end the call for right now. Like, but I want to sit here and hold space for your feelings, but I don't want to be talked to like this anymore. So it's been really challenging for me to navigate that. But here's the other thing too, is I'm in my wise adult knowing I'm in this for the long haul with my kids. And even if there's temporary times where they want to cut off communication with me or they want to say hurtful things, um, I'm in it for the long game, not the immediate like, oof, this hurts and I'm gonna move into my adaptive child now and like feel better by doing or saying something retaliatory. So I've had to really, really work on like biting my tongue, holding space, making it not about me. I'd love to hear, Tammy, how have you been doing with boundaries? And then we can kind of, you can call in the next person and we'll just kind of go around.
Yeah. Ooh, boundaries are, as I mentioned last week, like a people pleasers, but getting better. And I think I mentioned last week about the conversation I had with my daughter with this new relationship and needing to revisit the boundaries that she had set because she set them a little too rigid and started to feel left out of things or that I was lying to her and like no. So we've come back to that and like let's make sure that we're on the same page about this and what feels good for you, but also for me too, because again, the boundaries that sometimes we set like might feel like an electric fence and I don't want to feel that way with her either. And so it was just communicating that on both of our ends and what we both need and what feels like connection, but also respect for one another. So that's been really good. It was funny, as far as the podcast goes, I keep finding myself being challenged with guests, which is great, like people that want to be on. And I had a gentleman who was on before, and it was a great episode, and I loved it. And he's like, calls me up, and I need to be on your podcast. I got to talk about men and relationships. And I was like, oh, this would be great. And I'm thinking, like, I've got guests for all of July. I'm opening a gym. I don't have time on Saturday or on Sunday to record with you, but in my it just people pleasing thing came out, and pretty soon I'm booked for 11:30 on Sunday. I'm like, what are you doing, Tami? And so like I had to revisit it. I'm like, you know what? Actually, I don't have capacity for this. It doesn't work out time wise. Let's revisit this at the end of, I was like, it was just so fast. Like, no, energetically, time wise, this does not fit for me. And the only reason I would have been doing it was because he wanted to. And I enjoyed the conversation, but it was like, no, this would be absolutely me be people pleasing right now. And so I caught it, but there's still a little like reflex. So that's my recent boundaries. Oh, I will go to, well, I got to call on my Tami. So my other Tami, I'll go do your below me.
Hello. I didn't do the greatest with my boundaries. I, thought about, doing a big one with, my sister, but I'm like, eh. So I just did a small, my boss sometimes just kind of like takes advantage of, like he goes to the gym for like 2 hours every day in the middle of the day because he needs, and which I'm like, that's all awesome and great, but then when it came time for my break yesterday, he's like, oh, well, we'll fit that in sometime. And so it gets to be like 2:30. And I'm like, so I guess I didn't say it face to face, but so I Teams messaged him. I said, you know what? I got to take a break. I said, I need to get outside and, you know, just get my brain break in for today, and he's like, oh, okay. All right. All right. So it was okay. But that was just my small little boundary I did, but he's a hard one because kind of doesn't doesn't
Doesn't
it
see
doesn't meet
the
my needs. Yeah. So yeah.
keep
So.
communicating them.
Mhm.
Popcorn and
Let's
someone
go
else.
to, yeah, let's go to Pamela. Just for sake of time, I'm going to call on people.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. I had plenty of opportunities over the last week, which was great. I had one, I would say, like big win on it's too long to tell the whole backstory in this, but a situation with a friend, a female friend of my husband and me. And it brings up occasionally some cultural stuff around, is it okay for my husband to have a female friend if he happened to be male and they were spending all this time together and everything? I wouldn't think anything of it. Nobody would think anything of it, but she happens to be female. So just brought up a lot of stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like around culture and boundaries and how did I really feel about this? And it was such an interesting thing because I actually have no issue or concern with my husband spending time alone with this woman. She's a friend, like I said, friend of both of ours, but their schedules match better than mine. So often they'll go on a hike without me or they'll do things, and she's single. Um, and so I just had to really like focus on what boundaries did I need around this
Mhm.
relationship because I was having discomfort, but I had to really explore like what is the discomfort I'm feeling. And I was able to communicate in a really like wise adult way with my husband about this is partly based on the fact that she happens to be female. And I'm going to let you know that I don't think that's right. Like, we shouldn't have to distinguish our friendships based on gender. I mean, there's a million reasons, right, why that shouldn't be the case. And that I also, but there was a boundary I needed to set around just feeling left out. And so
Mm.
I wanted to be a little clearer around, I have no issue with you doing this. And I still need to feel like I'm included, even if I have to say I can't join you, but I just can't feel excluded. Anyway, we had a very positive conversation around it. So it was good.
I love that. Yeah.
That's
Thanks
big.
for sharing. That is big.
That could be a very touchy subject. So way to handle that, like a wise adult.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I've been really working hard with him. We have I think, pretty darn good marriage to begin with, but like as you do this work, it brings up stuff and you want to like really I want to, why not continue to improve and make the relationship grow even closer and stronger? And every time I've done some of this work, and Christy's seen it through the last several months of me like taking a risk and having a difficult conversation, and it just pays off and you begin to be even
Mhm.
closer. And he came back around to me after this conversation and said, thank you for that. And it made me realize that and he sort of called himself out. He was like, if you were doing all these things with a single male, I would absolutely have some problems with that. So, he was just sort of acknowledging like,
Mhm.
as much as we'd like to pretend it shouldn't matter and it doesn't matter, there is still just a little bit of energy around it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks for sharing that. I think that resonates for a lot of us. What are those boundaries with female, male friendships? All right, Lindsay.
Oh, golly. Boundaries, I feel like, have been something I don't necessarily haven't used a lot in the past, but us building our house over this last like 9 months has really helped create muscle in that. Um, and just like speaking up and saying like I don't have the capacity to handle this right now has been something that I've really worked on a lot lately. And like sticking up for like what I need. I've been expressing that a lot more than I ever have in the past. So it's just like little things like that that I think that I've been definitely bringing to the forefront, where before I would be so passive about stuff and now it's like, no, this stuff matters. And it's like there's like a room upstairs that has all of my husband's stuff in it, and I keep telling him that he needs to go up there and go through it. And I think, like Danielle and I talked about this today, I think he thinks that I'll just do it. And I'm not going to just go do it. And like, hopefully, we're moving next week. So he's got a timeline here to go finish it. And that's like one of the things, like, just because you don't want to do it doesn't mean it's something that I'm just going to do for you.
Yeah.
So just like kind of working on that and just like holding my own on some of those things that like normally I would be like, oh no, it's fine, I'll just take care of it. And like giving him that responsibility as well.
Love it. That's a good marriage muscle to have. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing like not sexier than becoming like mommy energy of like taking care of things that are difficult. Yeah, you want to ruin intimacy, do that. All right. Thanks. Let's go to Shira.
Sorry, I always struggle to unmute myself. I am with Tammy in the people pleasing department, and boundaries have always been really hard for me. And so I've been kind of just taking more time to kind of reflect on what boundaries I want to have and what that looks like. And I do a lot of my lack of boundaries focus around work. And so I do have a like annual meeting next week planned. So hopefully I can firm something up for that, but there was a boundary that I didn't realize was a boundary until after it happened. Um, my husband's grandmother passed away, and we were, it's okay, she's resting now. But we stuck around because everyone else left and his mom was alone, and so we were hanging out with her, and we have a lot of differences. I love her, but kind of towards the end of the night, there had been a lot of different emotions about a lot of different things, and she looked us in the face and said, "So have you guys really decided for real that you're not going to have kids?" And I, after already being emotional about something else, I just said, "I can't talk about this." And I got up and I left. Not that that is the wise adult way to handle that, but I did not have the capacity. Like, I've been struggling with things like that and mortality and things lately that I've been dealing with it myself, and I did not need that from her. And so instead of, I don't know, like I said, I don't know that it was a wise adult way, but I had to separate myself from that because I don't feel that she's in that circle right now in terms of that discussion and where we're at with things. And so it was like after the fact, I was like, oh, I think that I think that was a boundary. And then the people pleasing came back
Yeah.
later, and I texted her the next day and apologized. I was rude, but told her that I was not ready to talk about it, and
Mhm.
that she did seem receptive to that. But it just was like one of those things that in that moment I was like, oh, like I felt like that gate go up. Like it was like,
Mhm.
um, but I'm working on it. The boundaries are really hard for me though.
Yeah, I do think it was a wise adult. Like, it's a responsible timeout taking of like out of nowhere, out of the blue, somebody's talking about like something super personal between you and your partner. And I mean, timing is everything, right? And also invitations, like hey, would you be open to talking about something that's important? Oh, okay, what's the topic? Kids. No, not
Yeah, I felt
now.
kind of blindsided.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, so taking a responsible time out and saying I'm triggered and I'm not going to be in my best self, for me or for you or for this conversation is the thing. And then to go back and be able to repair, right? When it's like I value our relationship, and again, I'm going to enforce my boundary. I'm not talking about whether my husband and I are having kids with my mother-in-law until we have thoroughly talked about it. Yeah,
Work.
good job.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. All right, Kay, check in on boundaries.
I had a really good one this week. I have rekindled a relationship with a gentleman that it's been a little over a year ago that we ended things. And I too am a people pleaser. And so I would avoid anything that was going to be uncomfortable or potentially we wouldn't see the same way. He is very, very firm with his boundaries. He's very rigid, structured, Monday, Tuesday, just set. And I'm more go with the flow. So when we had the conversation about if we were going to try it again, I was clear with my asks, my boundaries on, last time I asked for more time and you started pulling away from me. And then, so the way I went about that now I see was on the days that we didn't have plans, I spur of the moment was like, hey, you want to do this? And that led him to thinking I wanted someone, I would rather a partner that was um, more exciting. So anyway, the conversation around the things that didn't go right and the way that they're going to change this time was, I've never done that with a partner ever. I've never made asks like that.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I even told him, you can't do that again. You broke my heart. And I asked him like to talk to me, like when you're having mental health struggles, like just tell me. I can give you space, I can give you support, I can sit next to you, I can sit, 10 feet away, whatever. Just talk to me. That's what I need. And that's big for me.
That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Way to start a foundation for like a healthy relationship with somebody, regardless of like where it goes, right? Regardless of where it goes, but to start that. Yeah.
Well, and aside from him, I gave myself boundaries because I was so passive last time. And that is where I'm stepping out of that people pleasing. And also, I'm really trying to be super aware of my own red flags of diving in quick and hard because we were together before. I do anyway. I have big feels, ADHD, whatever. But I'm just trying to like hold a little bit of tension on the brakes. We'll see.
Good for you.
It's
fun though.
It's so fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, it turns out communication, it's like it makes things a lot more fun and easier, and would have thought.
Right.
And you're creating a safe space for that. Like, I need you to, when you're struggling, I need you to tell me that so I can give you space. I don't need to fix you, but just to know that.
Yeah. Well, and I also explained like my head goes everywhere. If you don't
Yes.
tell me, it's all about me. I did something wrong and I create this gigantic story and then I have that resentment still because those feelings were there. Yeah.
Yeah. The handle with care instructions, right? How to love me best and not make me feel crazy. Yeah.
Thank you.
Stop.
Thanks. Let's do Dana and then end with Danielle for our boundary shares.
Okay. For me, I did more of a kind of breaking down some of my boundaries, I think. I'm one of those like super mom, super women people. And especially if things get tough, I try to do it all myself. And so last week during class, I had asked my boyfriend for help because it's Thursdays are rough. And then throwing in this class in the middle of it. And he's like, I'm there for you, whatever. So then it get done off the class. Didn't get done until like 6:45. Well, my girls are supposed to be at gymnastics at 6:45. And I was just not thrilled because but I thought about it for a while because then I left because I had to take them to gymnastics. But I realized like I never said this is what I need. And and he apologized and I'm like, no, I should have been more specific. And so like today, again, it's kind of a chaotic day. And so today I'm like, I need you to do X, Y, and Z so I can do A, B, and C. And that's been helpful because what I've realized is that like I heard this somewhere too, but like I expect him to read my mind and know what I need and what I want and how it should be done and everything. And then I get so resentful. And when my marriage ended, I had so much resentment built up inside me. And that was one thing that I never wanted to feel towards my boyfriend. And the only time I do is like when I get really overwhelmed and he's like off golfing for 8 hours or whatever, And
He
I'm like,
takes
come
super
on.
good care of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's hard because then I do set up some of those boundaries because we don't live together. We've been together for almost 6 years now, but we don't live together because I'm home with my 6 kids. And like, so I have to set that boundary of, yes, we're partners, but we're, there's like a fine line between what input he's able to give and what he's able to, authoritate over like the kids and the household and things like that but yeah, so I've tried to work on being less resentful when he's able to go out and have his fun because that's him, but also being more specific when it comes to what I need from him, from my kids.
Yeah. Don't be his no, right? Ask for what you need. And he's making a choice to date a woman with 6 children.
Yeah.
And so you're not just dating a woman, you're dating
Mhm.
the 6 children.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you. Danielle, how are you doing with
Hi.
boundaries?
I was trying to come up with this whole name for myself because I was thinking PPNBD, people pleaser, no boundaries, Danielle. That's totally me. So then I'm like, I have to have some boundaries. Like I had to have done something. So then I think I actually had a lot of them. I was with my husband's family and we're kind of all crazy. And this last weekend, and I feel like I did a lot of boundaries, but I can't like put a finger on one. But yesterday, not yesterday,
Mhm.
Tuesday, my husband was going to get my daughter's car in Minneapolis, and we're about 2 hours from there. And when he called me to tell me that he was going to do this, I was at a retreat for scrapbooking and quilting. And in my normal life, I would have ran right home, got in that truck with him, even though this was my time. Like I look forward to this. I do it once a year for 3 days, and it's my favorite thing ever. But I was like having all this like, oh, like not mom guilt, but like I'm like I probably should have went. What happens when something happens? All the things, and then I'm like, nope, this is my time. Like I want to be here with these women. It's a great therapy type session. Y'all just sit and talk about all the things. And I was getting a lot of things done. I'm going to be a grandma, so I was like making all these birthdays and all these things, and I was just so excited. And I'm like, oh, I should probably be in that truck. And then halfway home, he got a flat tire, and every single thing that could have went wrong went wrong. And so then I felt bad, like I should have been there, but I feel like if I was there, I just would have been the sounding board, and he'd have just been not on purpose, but swearing at me like it was my fault. So I'm so thankful that I stuck with that boundary of staying where I was
Yeah.
at. And I had to put me first for once. And that was really hard, but I'm so glad I did it. And I'm home now, and he was not resentful at all. Like he was like, then like that's totally all me. Like stop. It's fine. I'm not very good
Yeah.
at the stop or it's fine.
Yeah.
So
And
good to
yeah,
acknowledge
go ahead,
that.
Tammy.
I was just
Mhm.
gonna say, like, sometimes when we set those boundaries after the fact, like, oh my gosh, like 1, that felt really good. 2,
Yeah.
I'm okay. 3, they may have appreciated it as well because it was clear communication, like Dana's boyfriend. Thank you, because I didn't actually really know where I was supposed to go, what I was supposed to do. Like, thank you for the clear do.
Yeah.
And to
Mhm.
like notice those things and to exactly what you just did, like I'm still okay. I think that's how we start to let our nervous system know, like, it's okay when we set boundaries. It's okay. You're still safe. People still love you.
Yeah, no matter what, like there was nothing I was gonna be able to do about it. It's not like I would have made the tire not blow. So I'm like, stop trying to fix everything. It's fine. Sometimes
Yeah.
things happen. You fix it, you move on. That's very hard for me,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but I'm working on it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I would really encourage you to kind of go on a boundary treasure hunt, because certainly you go into your hairdresser and you get that super cute haircut, not by just sitting in a chair going, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Anytime you set like a preference, or you go to a restaurant, you order, or you tell people, I prefer if you take your shoes off when you come to my house. Like, I don't think if you say I'm boundaryless, notice where you probably aren't.
You have
Relationship
those things
boundaries,
that you just don't think about.
yes, relationship boundaries are like advanced,
Yeah.
but you build on relationship boundaries by having preferences in other areas of your life. And then you change that narrative around, that is not the name I'm going to have emblazoned on the front of my shirt. I'm going to have like boundary but kind Danielle. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm in. I'm in.
Yeah. Awesome. I love all the boundaries, and I love the variety of like where where people found boundaries. And like I said, relationship boundaries are by far the hardest, because our survivalistic tendency as human beings is we don't want to be rejected or abandoned or alone. We want to be in our tribe. We don't want to be excommunicated. We don't want to be cast out. And so, by our very nature, and especially as women, we caretake others because we feel like if I make myself feel really important, I will always have somebody in my life, you know? And so, yeah, what I know is that if you wait too long to do boundaries, though, like with my kids right now, it sometimes is harder now to like scaffold them in and put them in place, but it can start out small. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to be talked to that way, or I don't want to have you call me out of the blue on days I work, you know, like think about what small ones would be and like scaffold up to them. Um,
Can I share a quick little
oh,
story about like the boundaries and
yeah,
how that can help? So
please. Yeah.
I think I know I had talked about this on the podcast, if anyone listened to that episode, about when healing gets hijacked and the whole gluten-free thing and how I was eating this stuff because I was too afraid to say anything. And since, because again, that same thing in that boundary, like if I say these things, I'm going to seem like a burden or I'm going to whatever. And now having had communicated that, I got a picture today of him in the grocery store. He's like, I'm connecting with you in the gluten-free aisle. And I was holding a piece of like a loaf of bread, of gluten-free bread, because like, I want to honor your boundaries. I want to anyone who's in your life, I want to be able to respect your boundaries. And I was like, so all of a sudden, that actually felt like really sweet and really special that he's going to help honor my boundary. The one where I was like, I can't share this one with him. Like, that's just the, you know, again, the whole ego fear thing, when really look at the opportunity I just gave him to support me in that versus feeling like I couldn't share that. So allowing our partners, our friendships, our whatever to be able to meet us there, and that can actually feel really good. So that was a fun little, like, oh, here I was breaking out in rashes and things.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Take care of your gluten-free you. Yeah. All right. So in your book, you have week 4 relational skills, and it's just kind of a reminder of that list of like what are some questions I can ask myself? Am I being relational, or am I trying to be right? Like, you can't be both, right? Asking yourself, asking your partner, I'm going to ask you to make a behavioral change or a boundary, like take off your shoes at the door. What do you need from me to support you to be more successful in that boundary? Because it's a two-way street of like setting our boundary, but also saying, what do you need from me to be more successful in that? And it might be nothing, or it might just be gentle reminders instead of yelling at me, or like, could you just put a sign on the door and then I just know, like, put my shoes there, right? And so it's like, what do you need from me to help you out? The other thing we talked about, you know, the power of empathy, the power of validation. Validation is not agreeing with somebody. It's saying, I hear you, baby girl. Your brother is a horrible, awful human being to you. And I validate that that's your experience right now with him. And period. I don't need to butt or explain things more. It's just she needs to be heard. And I'm not agreeing with her saying, oh, I know the other week he was so judgy towards me too. You know, I'm not colluding with her, but I'm like validating like the experience that she is having, which can be really, really powerful. And just staying curious. And I don't know if any of you watch like the show Couples Therapy on Stars. It's so good. And I was watching an episode last week where she was um, talking about the power of curiosity. So often we're with our partner or with a friend or a colleague, and we're like, I know exactly, I think, who was it? Dana, or maybe it was Kay, mind reading. Like, if I don't voice it, right? They're not gonna like, they can't read my mind, right? So curiosity is kind of goes hand in hand with that, and that we can, if we can stay curious with somebody, like I'm gonna voice a boundary and I'm gonna stay curious with you of how you're gonna handle it versus mind reading. It can be really powerful because you're more present in the moment versus like thinking of the 5 things you're going to say when they start butting up against the boundary because you know they are, right? And then just staying vulnerable. Like that's been key in my relationship with my partner is so often I armor up because I'm trying to protect myself, but that's not going to get me like, hey, what you were saying, that's not going to get me the love that I want in my life. So to be and Pamela, when you approach your head, like this is super vulnerable, but I'm feeling all these feelings about you having a relationship with a woman, right? That's a friendship. It's when we can be vulnerable like that and we can expose our underbelly of like what really slays us in life, we can be in much better relationship. And if you're in a relationship where you can't be vulnerable, really take a look at that relationship then. If words are used against you or vulnerability is used against you, that's not okay. Like change needs to occur in that relationship. The 2 things that I wanted, or the 3 things I wanted to explain on that sheet so that you're reading it and you're like, what do these things mean? Love without knowledge is when you first meet somebody and you're like, oh my God, that feels like coming home. They're so perfect. And there's butterflies and birds and you have no knowledge of this person, but you just feel like you've known them for your entire life. And then there is knowledge without love, that even healthy relationships sometimes go through hate or like, what did I get myself into? Because all of a sudden we know this person and there's things about it that are causing like triggers and turmoil, right? If we can get to the other side of it, knowing love, which is I know all of your quirks, you know all of my quirks, and we still love each other. That can be really, really powerful. And I think a lot of people lose love or lose that pathway into more intimacy when they hit the hate point or the dislike point or the disgruntled point. And another way of looking at it is when we first meet, we're in harmony, and then we are in disharmony because we're like trying to figure out like, are we going to live on the East Coast? Are we going to live on the West Coast? Are we going to have children? Are we not going to have children? Like then there's disharmony. And I think people make a mistake thinking, I want to get back to harmony, what it was like in the very beginning. And I have a really important thing to say to you. That will never happen because it was love without knowing that person. And now you know that person. So the goal isn't to come back into harmony with your boss or your kids, but your goal is to come into repair, which can create harmonious feelings. But it's always this disharmony repair cycle that lasting true love relationship friendships need to kind of go through. Like, did you ever get into a friendship where you're just like so enamored with the woman and then she kind of shows her true colors and you're like, oh, maybe not? It's not about getting back to the harmony of not knowing her, it's getting back to the repair of I know you and now I know how to care for you and now I know what boundaries to have and how to get into repair with you. So those are some of the concepts I wanted to explain, that when you do deeper work, you go into more of this like in a deeper way. We don't have our final dates finalized for the fall retreat, but it is looking like Tami just opened a gym. And so, it is looking like it would be, maybe towards late October, early November or something like that. So we'll keep you posted if you want to do deeper dives into some of these concepts. And then the last thing that's on there is called soft power. And I was raised in a home as a woman to be like, hear me roar and beat my chest and like, protect myself. Don't let a man tell you what to do kind of thing. Gloria Steinem has the quote where it's women need a man like a fish needs a bicycle, you know? And that's the kind of home I was raised in. The problem became it's not the kind of concept that leads to lasting relationship. That my partner likes the strength of me as a woman, my power, but not a tone, or not like, I don't need you. He likes to hear me say, I need you. And I like to hear him say, I need you too. And that's like super vulnerable to be in this soft power place. And it's a different way of looking at feminism. I think that we needed to go into that really extreme feminism for a period of time, because women did not have rights to vote, and we still have super unequal pay, like ridiculous, right? So the pendulum needed to shift, but now the soft power for both of us, for men and women, to be in softer power with each other, maybe that pendulum can find a little bit more balance with one another. And that's the work I think that inner child stuff is built on, is we swim in, a very male dominated world. How do we find our soft inner child of like who we are, and still remain in our power? It's a really hard balance to be vulnerable and need in relationships. At least I find it is. But it's also a really sweet place to be too. Yeah, so we wanted to end a little bit on play, and I cut this super cute video. In my bedroom I have a swing. No, it's not a sex swing, but I suppose I could use it as a sex swing, but I haven't. It's a read my book swing in my bedroom, and I put it in there because I always wanted a swing in my bedroom, and I'm an adult and I own my own place, so I put a swing in my bedroom. And so I had cut this video saying, don't forget to play. And so Tammy's going to lead us into a conversation around how do we have play. And I shared with Tammy when I was 29, I had been waiting all my life for somebody to throw a surprise birthday party for me. And I was single for the first time in a couple of years. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to wait for somebody to come along. This is the soft power, right? I don't need a man, but I also want a surprise birthday party. So I threw myself a surprise birthday party. And back then we didn't have like a lot of internet when I was 29. That was just starting, right? So snail mail, postcard invites to people with no return address. So they didn't know like who was throwing it. And then I cleaned my house, made all the food, lit the candles. And then I got in my car and I got my binoculars out and I parked around the corner and I watched as people like snuck in and parked their cars all over the neighborhood to like hide themselves. And then when it felt like most everybody that I had invited was there, I walked up to the door and I opened it and everybody jumped up and said, surprise. So I got my surprise birthday party and it was so fun. The only person that was really on to me was my cousin, because she was like, Christy, your house is way too clean. You knew something about this, at least, if you didn't throw this yourself. So from there, then I created like bowling birthday parties and swimming pool birthday parties. It was a way of like reparenting myself during a really tender time in my life when I was alone and single for like 4 or 5 years in my late 20s, early 30s. And so think about a little bit of that. Like, how can I bring on my little playfulness? Yeah. Tammy.
I love that so much. And that is reparenting 101, right? Instead of expecting other people to meet our needs, it's like, hold up, wait a second. I can do this for me, but with that balance of I can also allow other people to it. And an example, not necessarily from a play perspective, but on Friday, I was telling Christy earlier with the summer solstice and all this stuff, like I felt like I got hit by a freaking bus. And I generally don't get sick, I don't get headaches, and like I was just like, and normally I've gotten used to just taking care of myself. And if I need to get up out of the bed and get something, I'll do it. There's no one else here. And then I'm like, oh wait, I do have someone now that could support me in this. And so I'm like, you know what, I am gonna go home and I'm shower and then I will come over. And so went out, got me soup and like all the things that like his mom did to take care of him. And I was like, I just to allow myself to receive that, even though knowing that I could have done that for myself was, so I think with all of this, there is that balance. Like, yes, I can do these things for myself, but But reparenting is such a powerful thing because, one, we stop expecting people to read our minds and magically meet our needs. And it's really empowering to know that we have everything we need within us. And if we can evoke joy and happiness and all of those things without relying on that, because how many of us, whether it's a birthday like Christy or Mother's Day, we had all of these expectations and then we're freaking disappointed. And like, I never actually communicated what I wanted. Like, I just wanted a day to myself on Mother's Day. I didn't actually want to go to brunch, but I did it because that's what everyone does. And that's what they always expect of me. And like, you know what? What I want to do is I want to go paddleboarding. I want to go with my kids on a trampoline park. Like, I want to do something fun, but like being able to communicate that is a really powerful thing. So it's just thinking about, when you think about tapping back into the things that maybe used to bring you joy as a kid, like I think it's just a great time to explore. Maybe doing that in the swing, going outside, sitting under a tree. Like, where can I get into that energy where I'm not surrounded by all these adult things? Because sometimes it's like, yeah, I want to tap into my inner child, but I'm sitting in the kitchen and there's laundry and there's dishes and there's this and there's that. Like, how can I get into that energy? Like, where do I need to go? What music do I need to turn on? Sometimes it's just a matter of turning on some 90s hip hop and jamming out in your kitchen. It's like these little things. And before I even knew about inner child work, and now that I do, I was like, oh my gosh, I was always trying to tap into that, whether it was crafts with my kids. Like, I loved it more than they did. It's like, let's do a craft, because I wanted that permission to have playtime, craft time. And I would allow myself to do it if I was doing it with them, but for me to just do it by myself. Whereas now, like, no, if you want to do that, Tami, you can do that for yourself. You can get out the kinetic sand anytime if that's something that's fun and soothing, or you want to paint, or you want to draw. You don't have to wait for your kids to do it. But sometimes that was like a little breadcrumb. Like, what are the things that I found a lot of joy in when I did with my kids? And then I let that part of me come out with permission, because I was doing that with my kids. Like, no, I can do that by myself. And just starting to kind of tap back into that a little bit, whether was movement, whether it was creativity, music, coloring, drawing, just like being silly again and not worrying about the judgment of it. And like Chrissy said, like, I can put a swing up if I want to put a swing up. And I would dress up all the time. I was like the one person at the gym who I dressed up as every holiday. I would dress up as something. Like, I didn't care. I was the only one. I'm like, I don't care. I'm having fun, and it brought other people joy. So that was kind of this cool little side thing. But one of the ways that I stay connected, whether it's just through fun, but I think when we think about reparenting and how quickly we can just tap into that energy. Like, I have pictures, like, my screen's blurry, but pictures of my little self all over the place. Because then I'm like, it's just that moment of connection. Like, I don't always need to get out a journal. I don't always need to meditate. I don't always need to do these big ceremonies to channel my inner child. It can just be as simple looking at the picture and smiling. But I can also feel like when I am disconnected, I start to feel tantrumy. And that's when she's like, you haven't been paying attention to me. But when I can just make my shake in the morning and I have a picture of her there, and so every morning I can just smile at her. And that's just this little brief connection I can have. And wherever that leads, who knows? But like, making space for her in your life. And again, it doesn't have to be always these grandiose things. And when I think about reparenting, it's simple things like eating regular meals, putting yourself to bed, like taking care of her. And an example, I was talking to the lady who kind of manages my apartment complex, went down to make coffee the other day and asked how she was doing. Turns out her dad had passed and she was super emotional about it. And I'm like, and having a hard time getting out of bed and all of these things. And I was like, your inner child needs you right now. She needs you to take care of you. And like, she like you could tell their inner child was like, thank you for telling, because she was feeling such sadness, but like consumed by it, that she had then now abandoned herself and stopped taking care of herself. And like just that little mention of that there's a little girl that's grieving the loss of her dad, but she still needs someone to take care of her, and that's you now. And that like something just clicked, and she's like, I get it. I get it. And I think once you do tap into that, boundaries get, I mean, I certainly have my moments with boundaries, but it gets easier when it's like, I don't want to abandon her. And if I have to abandon her to please someone else, no. Because I don't ever want, like, and sometimes having that visualization of seeing her left in the corner when I'm like, well, I said it, broke my promise to her, and I can just have that image because I have those pictures everywhere. And it's just like when you ignore your kids, like that energy doesn't feel good. And we feel that within us. So it's like, oh, that's what that feeling is. And I don't want to feel that. So, nope, I'm going to go back and tell this guy at the podcast on Sunday that, you know, that actually doesn't work. I'm going to reschedule. Because I felt her. She was like, nope, Sunday is our day. What are you doing? I'll be giving that day up for others. We talked about my Sundays last time. And here I was like, oh. So just finding, again, give yourself those little moments to just trying to remember what brought her joy. And maybe it's things that you got made fun of for, or shut down about, or teased about. Like those might have been the things that were your little quirks that were really unique and awesome about you, but other people didn't know how to, you know, maybe it was your big feels, or that you love to sing, and then someone's like, oh, you're not a good singer, but really, like, I still love to sing. Like, you can still, now you can do that again, singing in your car, singing in the shower. There's lots of little ways that we can bring her back, but it is, the more intentional we are, just like with our own kids, the more seen and loved they feel. And that little bit goes a long way with your inner child.
I love that. Yeah. I would love, as we're kind of starting to close out our time together, just something that you want to share that's kind of a takeaway or a commitment or an accountability of, I'm going to incorporate more play in how I dress, or how I wear my hair, or how I choose to eat, or what I choose to eat. I used to do this Camp Wow for women in Wisconsin Rapids area, and we would do a spaghetti dump for like the dinner. And so, it was such a surprise for the women to like, yeah, we're gonna eat. We're gonna put the noodles and the zoodles on that end for the gluten frees, and then the red sauce and the meatballs for those that are eating meat. And it was just like, ah, you can't do that to food. And it's like, where are the rules? Why can't we do that to food? But I would love to end our time just sharing a very brief share out of what is an aha you're taking away, a growing edge, or a frame of our time together where you're like, that's going to stick with me.
I can go. I think
Yeah.
just the idea of like I'm recognizing when I start to feel resentful towards anybody, for like, why am I feeling that? And it's like, I'm not resentful that my boyfriend's going golfing. I'm resentful that I don't get to do it. And so how am I going to do it? And I think he realizes that too. Like Father's Day, I got to spend at the spa in Lake Geneva and then on a cocktail cruise because he decided I deserved that on Father's Day. So it was really nice. And
Yeah.
also, a lot of times I just let myself get over consumed with all the things that need to be done, and trying to reframe what it's not what needs to be done. It's like there are things that need to be done, but some of those are all just extras because my girls are still 10 and but they're my babies of the 6, and they are always just craving mom playtime, fun time, go do shopping together, go to a park together. And I can't even remember what it was. Oh, I don't know. It was a couple weeks ago. Like we had worked really hard all weekend, and it was like 8 o'clock at night on a Sunday night, and I took them out for ice cream. And almost all my kids came, I think, and they were like, "Really?" Like usually it's bedtime. So trying to think of, those things that I never got to do, but also, yeah, just trying to live the fun with them too.
Yeah, spontaneous play. I love
Mhm.
it. Yeah. Anybody can go next.
I'll go. I think that it's been helpful to know that I'm not alone in some of the ways that I feel, and that my life is way too serious, and that's probably why she tries to drive so much, because everything is always so serious all of the time. And it's always like my husband's really good about, it's a day off. Like he doesn't understand the concept of like when I am relaxing, I'm thinking about all the gazillion other things that I need to do, and like just telling myself like just relax isn't gonna fix it, but that I maybe do need to like take a page out of his book in that regard, and that everything doesn't need to be, it's easier to say than to do any of that, but that maybe part of why my inner child lashes out is that things are too serious, and like especially with where I'm at in my life right now, like it's too short to be serious all of the time.
Well, we can
Yeah.
start to think about, like, we've got these to-do lists. It's like, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. But it's actually can make us more productive. Like by just tending to her, tending to you and doing something for you, or something even just remotely playful, even in the shower. Like I'm not adding extra. I'm just turning on music that brings me joy in the shower so I can tap into her. Might make the rest of your to-do list. Because now she's like, yeah, go do your thing. Whereas sometimes we create so much resistance because we're resisting hearing her, and then it just makes everything harder. So you see that as like, ooh, maybe that will help me do these tasks and things with more ease and more joy because I have tended to her already. So that's the most important thing I need to do today. Non-negotiable.
Yeah, and when we're in a couples, we tend to polarize. So the more serious one gets more serious, and the more playful one gets more playful because they're trying to like balance it out. So the ask of your partner might be, in order for me to feel more playful in life, I need you to kind of come forward and worry about a couple things. Here are some things you can worry about so that I know somebody's worrying about it, but I'm not going to be like the person all the time. And then I can come to the middle and be more playful too. So, yeah, love that. Thanks for sharing.
I'll go next.
Okay, Pamela.
I think when you were talking, Tammy, about all the things you loved to do as a kid, and I think I need to tap into that a little bit more. Like, I'm not sure I even know what that is. Um, so I think I'm going to spend some time like trying a few things out and seeing what is it that really brings me that childlike joy. I have things that bring me joy. Lots and lots of things bring me joy. I'm very fortunate to have a lot of joy. But when I think about like that childlike joy, I'm not really sure what that is. I think I became pretty serious pretty early.
Yeah.
so many goosebumps for you. That's awesome and exciting.
Yeah. I love that for you because there's a guy out there, he's an artist, Jason Kotecki, and he calls himself the adultitis fighter. And he runs like adultitis camps where adults are running around with like superhero costumes and stuff like that. And one of the concepts he talks about, Pamela, is tinkering, where we don't tinker enough because if we're going to dabble in painting or tinker in painting, we have to be an artist and sell our work. If we're going to dabble in, dance, let's say, it has to be connected to performance. So how can you tinker with something, never with any kind of outcome orientation in your mind, and never expecting you to perfect it, but just to play with it? It's very powerful.
Yeah.
I once did I think I'm a funny person. And so I took a class to be a comedian. And I tinkered with it. It was the hardest freaking thing I ever did in my life because it ended with like a 5-minute performance that you had to do in front of people. And it was just like, okay, I'm funny, but timing is everything. And like, this is really hard. I never got good at it, but I did it and I tinkered with it and I would do it again. It was fun. Not where I'm going to make my money though.
I took a dance class. I always wanted to do contemporary dance, and that was my thing last year. I was like, you know what? My inner child loves to dance, but the feminine in me, the soft feminine, also wanted to do that and to move that way without judgment.
That's right.
And it was like the best 8 weeks to just allow myself to explore that without judgment. And yeah, so
love that.
finding those little things are like, yeah, I don't turn into a professional dancer, but just 8 weeks was like, that was enough to like fill that cup for right now and explore that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Who else? We're running a little over, and that's okay.
I'll be fast, or not fast. I don't know.
No, take up your space. Take up your space.
I feel like what I take away is I need to ask for help. I don't ask for help. I do it all myself. So I feel like I'm Wonder Woman. And so I try to do all the things for my kids, my husband, and myself. And I don't think I'm doing the good things for anybody. So I need to ask for some help. Because I just try to do it all myself, and then I'm all verklempt and having a hard time, and I'm not doing them correct because I'm doing too many things at one time. And I'm not real good at asking for help. So I think I'm going to stop people pleasing myself and try to ask for some help here and there. Like, other people can do things real good, so why am I not letting them try? They might not be done the way I exactly want them, but that's okay too. I gotta be okay with that. Gotta let it go. And I'm gonna find my inner child because I don't think I found her, and that's really upsetting me. So I'm gonna dig into that. But she's there.
Keep
I know
digging.
she's there. I was a real cool kid, so I gotta be there.
Well, she's buried under your to-do list right now. So you start delegating some of those things. She might be like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. I'm a real good swimmer. She's maybe just drowning.
Yeah. Well, and you think about that too with your kids, like what kind of precedents are we setting for them? That like, how are we teaching them life skills, or how are we setting this example that now they're going to do that in their adult life, and that's not what you want for them.
Correct.
So it's like, ooh, I need to be the example and communicate that to them. Like, I'm trying to learn how to delegate and hand these things off, and I need your help.
Absolutely. Vocal. You need to be vocal.
Yes.
Thank you. I loved all this. This was the best 4 weeks I've ever had.
Oh, so good. So good getting to know you. Yeah, and I can't wait to meet your inner child when she comes forward too. All right. Who else wants to share? Tami, your mic is off, or try to be. It's muted again now.
Oops, don't know what I'm doing. Okay. I just have to say too, this has been great. And it's, I guess the best thing too is to know that there's so many other women that feel like this. And it's just, it's a work in progress, and keep working I guess the one thing that I had found, I used to love to dance too, and I had found this app, Body Groove. I don't know if anybody's seen it on Facebook, but it's exercise with dance. And I was like religious, like during COVID, and then I just got so busy lately. I haven't done it regularly for, I don't know. Once in a while I'll pop on there, but that's going to be my goal because it's fun, and they encourage stuff like that, like to act like a little kid. They're like, just skip around your house like a kid, and and it's so fun, and I feel so good doing it. So I'm going to make the time to just get back into doing it. I mean, I need to do it every day because it's just fun, and once I start, it's like I'll have it on for like an hour and just keep going through songs. And so yeah, but
Love
it's been so
that.
great meeting everyone too, because it's just been great chatting with everybody.
There's a
Good.
reason
And we'll keep
recess is
the-
the kid's favorite part of the day, right? Like my son, like best part every day. I'm like, what was the best part of your day? Recess. Us adults still need that and want that too. I love that.
And we can give ourselves recess too. We'll keep the group chat open for a while too, so you can connect with others that way if you want to, or share, exchange information. Yeah.
I can go.
Okay. Yeah, Kate.
I think that I have had a block from moving around as a kid a lot. And I moved 4 months ago and have not completely unpacked. But that's been an issue the past few years or so. I didn't have stable living situations for many years, and I was in active addiction, not any longer. But anyway, I think that the unpacking, like stable housing, there's safety to keeping my things packed. And I think that maybe if I can find something fun to do with my inner child while I unpack, like music or play somehow, that might help me move through that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Moving it around, I can resonate with that. My mom moved around a lot, and there's just different things we do to stabilize ourselves, and sometimes not unpacking things or putting things on walls and claiming our space is a way that we adapt to that. But it's your space, so take it out.
Thank you. Yeah.
Put something playful on the wall, an art piece. After my husband and I separated, I put this body, like naked woman on my wall, because I'm like, I can put whatever I want on my wall, so claim it.
I like that idea.
And
nobody's going to yell about all the nail holes.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Lindsay.
For me, like the biggest thing I think was like the first week when we started talking about the triggers and tracing them back. That's something that I've noticed like throughout this whole time, that like with something triggers me, like I can take the string and figure out like what it is that happened at some point that's really making it more of a big deal than it necessarily needs to be. So like that was like something super powerful for me, and just the whole experience, like finding the inner child and like knowing that it's okay to do the things. And like honestly, Danielle's brought out a lot of my inner child with her crafting and like doing all of that kind of stuff, like making it like okay to go do these things. And now with the move, instead of like putting all of my paints and all of the things like just in a drawer, like I can leave them out. So when I'm feeling creative, I can go and let my creativity out that way without like having to worry about it. And I wanted ever since I was a little kid, a window seat. So when we built the house, like I got my window seat in between my two bookcases. So I am so excited to be just chilling in my window seat.
Oh, that's super cool.
that's a great time to reconnect with her. Just like brings her right there. It's just like you get triggered and like you connect with her, those same moments, that music, that song, that coloring, whatever it is, like all of a sudden you're just right back there. Like you can tap into that energy really quick because she wants you to. So it's readily available. Oh, I love it.
Awesome. Did everybody go with their
So
last little words and frames? Okay. Wow. First, thank you, Tami, like for being open to like collaborating and joining
thank
me on
you.
this journey. I so value like your expertise, and if anybody wants to continue work with Tami, she does like amazing work and can do coaching and things like that. And come and join us in November. And I just want you to take a look at, like, look around the room and look in the eyes of your sisters and see their little girl in each of us. Like, she's right there. And just take a moment to take it in. Yeah. Good job. Thanks for showing up. You all are
Little girls.
amazing.
Yeah. And take that moment, like your inner child, like you did it, like you showed up for us. Week 1, week 2, and even if you had to miss a week, like you're here tonight. And that kind of commitment that you made to her, like she feels that. So allow yourself to feel that. And like whether you even just need to actually give yourself a hug and imagine that, like, you know, we went back to that very first visualization and you met her. Like now you can almost feel that embrace again and be like, girl, I got you. And I want to keep learning about you and I want to keep hearing you and I want you to keep sharing your story and what you need me to feel and how you want me to play. Like I am an open channel and like tell me all of those things now. That's a really powerful connection. So she's super excited and proud of all of you for showing up.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. If you go down to your little reaction button, if you're able to, and you don't have to if you're on your phone, that's sometimes harder. Find the effect that you want to say goodbye with, and oh, hearts. I'm gonna do the trumpets. Oh, yes. Look at it. Super fun and playful. Thank you all for joining us on this journey, and the recordings are yours. So you go back and listen to them. Take another 4 weeks for yourself. So, all right.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Love them.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody. This was great.
Nice meeting
Look at
everybody.
this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Good night.